Hello, once again. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. The best in worst of lists. I'm your host for this rapturous, glorious, empowering endeavor. My name is Douglas Fur, and I am proud. I'm as punched as please, punch, please, as anyone could possibly be to be able to deliver you this incredible top 10 worst of list that is a life-changing experience, I think, awaiting us all. Top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. Woo! Hot stuff, hot soup. You know it. Now, this, for those of you who, feel a deep sense of commitment and connection with the idea that anything that happened before they were born is not only worthless, but a humiliating pursuit for anybody to engage in. And they feel a deep sense of self-righteousness that precludes them from having to pay attention to historical contexts or reasons for life being as demoralizing, destabilizing, economically stratified as it is. So, for those of you out there who are of that mentality, you can go, suck a lemon for all I care. Find yourself some other stupid ass, look, I don't know, it's been, 10, 12 or more episodes since the gatekeepers have allowed anybody to see any of this stuff. So it's at this juncture, while I'm recording this on May 25th, 2026, Memorial Day, if you will, which is a great time, I think, to try and debunk the Iraq War, because there's a lot of things going on here. Those of you who, there was absolutely nobody protested this thing. This was a war that was concocted by the neocons after a series of just the most blatant lies in the history of blatant lies. They first started off, if my memory serves, by the President of the United States in the State of the Union Address, the famous 16 words that they call it. And that was the reports from British intelligence, something like that, state that Saddam Hussein is actively seeking yellow cake uranium in Niger. And I'm not paraphrasing, but these 16 words terrified America, or at least the interpretation of America that we were given by Operation Petticoat. What was it? Mockingbird, where they were busted a few times for actively planting stories in the press and disguising them as organically driven stories by real reporters when they were just propaganda pieces that were infused into the media and made to look like they were organically driven stories. And so either way, he actually did say those words, and it turned out to be untrue. There was never any yellow cake uranium in Niger that Saddam Hussein was chasing down, or his operatives, things like that. And then, we put Saddam Hussein we invaded Iraq, and, Colin Powell goes to the UN with a bottle of anthrax, and he's got a PowerPoint presentation of rolling chemical laboratories disguised as Winnebagos and aluminum tubes and stuff like that, all of which didn't exist. And he's at the UN General Assembly saying all this malarkey, it's so bad, it's inconceivable. And then two senators, Democratic senators, turn up dead via mysterious assassination by mysterious plane wreck for Mel Carnahan and Paul Wellstone. and those 2 seats were eventually flipped to Republicans, and that gave them enough of a majority in the Senate. Those 2 votes gave them enough of a majority in the Senate to actually vote in favor of going to war against Iraq. And then we go there, and, there's no real reason to go to Iraq, and that they put Saddam Hussein to death through obvious kangaroo court, just absolutely pathetic kangaroo court, where they say Saddam was guilty of, I don't know, I think it was like about, somewhere between 17 and 25 people, executing the death penalty for those people for treason, for some sort of insurrection-oriented activities. I don't remember exactly, but the fact of the matter is that this was during the Iraq-Iran war. Who's to say that those guys weren't, actually engaged in sedition against Iraq? We don't know this, and if we're gonna go off of some old case by that, because at that time it was like this is in the early 2000s and such. And the Iran-Iraq war was back in the, early 80s, I think, if memory serves. It was somewhere in that range. So you're talking about something that's over 20 years, nigh on 20 years old, that were adjudicated because, he sentenced 20 people to death. So all of a sudden we get to go in, take over their country, and put their leader to hold a kangaroo court, convict him on some who knows what. Seems like a pretty flimsy charge, especially when you think about the amount of people that we tortured in Abu Ghraib. That nobody was ever brought to justice for allowing that to happen. Everybody just sailed on that one. Nobody's ever brought to justice for all the lies that they used to build a fake case to convince people that war against Iraq was absolutely unavoidable and extremely necessary, or the president himself lying about the yellow cake uranium and Saddam and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, and this shows how inbred this society of politicos really are, these puppets and whatnot. They eventually left office, and when Obama came in, he absolutely did Zippo to investigate any of these crimes. And 1 million innocent Iraqi civilians died as a result of that war. What was it? Why? And why wasn't it investigated? Things would have been a lot. I know that, would probably cause a lot of insurrection, because you're already getting the Tea Party starting to percolate, and all the white power troglodytes are coming up out of the swamp and the morass of the 100 years of hate since the end of the Civil War and poorly executed Reconstruction, and years of entitlement from the KKK to the Proud Boys. It's just an insane time that, having a black leader of the most racist country in history did to this nation. And, all the time, the whole time, they're being churned into greater levels of hatred by the lies that are being promulgated by Fox News and Clear Channel's network of hate. That have radio stations all across the Bible Belt. Then you get all these alt media people who are, their checks are signed by the same guys who signed the checks over at NBC and The Daily Show, and for the political action committees. It's all the same guys signing all those checks, 2 or 3 guys probably. But they're all the same. And I'm talking about both Republican and Democrats. There's no way that any of these Republicans would ever get elected if it weren't for how lousy the Democrats are. The party. They realized at some point that they would never be able to raise up the people who support the oligarchs, which is what the Republican Party has become, is just sort of a mouthpiece for the goddamn ultra-right wingers and ruling elite rich people and stuff. And, to a certain extent, to a small extent, but to a certain extent, people don't believe that the government is being forthright with us, and is committing a lot of crimes against us, and hiding it and burying it and so on and so forth, which, in a lot of cases is true. It's weird, and you say that, oh, well, look at this guy's an ultra right winger. Well, all I'm saying is the same thing that the Democrats used to say about the government back in the 70s, when they were the ones who were suspicious about what the government was telling us about Vietnam, and et cetera, and the Kennedy assassination and all that stuff as it was coming out throughout the middle 70s and whatnot. They didn't play the goddamn Zapruder film until 1975. Geraldo Rivera was the guy who premiered the frickin' Zapruder film to America for the first time in 1975, sitting there with Dick Gregory on Good Night America, which was a spinoff from Good Morning America that they used to have back in the old days. And Geraldo Rivera was the guy. And why do you think that they kept the Zapruder film sequestered for 12 frickin' years? Number one, so that all the lies from the Warren Commission had time to sink in. Because anybody who see the freaking Zapruder film would see in 2 seconds that there wasn't a lone gunman. And then you had to overcome all those 12 years worth of lies and indoctrination and the Warren Commission and everything like that. They had to, work their way past. People couldn't even believe their eyes after 12 years of that stupid indoctrination. And then on top of it, you get Richard Nixon had been given a full and unconditional pardon 6 months or so, 3 to 6 months, somewhere in there, prior to the release of the Zapruder film. So, the guy who benefited the most from the Kennedy assassinations, both of them, was Richard Nixon. Because he never would have been president in 1968 if JFK had served both terms. RFK was a shoo-in. Would have been a shoo-in after that in 1968. He was a shoo-in before he got shot to death in the Ambassador Hotel, which one of Richard Nixon's best friends, Junius Shine, owned. The Ambassador Hotel was the place that Richard Nixon holed up when he was writing and preparing to deliver the Checker speech back when his career was being threatened in 1952 when he got caught with an immoral slush fund. He was about to be thrown off the ticket, and he makes this Checker speech. Where do you think he hold up to try to prepare and make sure all the T's were dotted and the I's were crossed? The Ambassador Hotel, because his best buddy, Junior Shine, whose kid was the one of the main people in the Army Supreme Court case against God damn it, stupid Roe v. Wade, Roy Cohn. Junior Shine was a hyper bigot who wrote this hardcore right-wing intolerant newsletter, and Roy Cohn was like, yeah, that's great stuff. Let's team up and get you with McCarthy and stuff. Army versus McCarthy case was all about Junior Shine's kid. And the Army was trying to draft him in, and Roy Cohn was like, no, this guy is too valuable to unleash in the stupid-ass Army. And that case was one of the big linchpins in getting rid of McCarthy, the public version of McCarthyism. It just forced it underground. McCarthyism, blacklisting, and HUAC, and surreptitious murders, and destruction of purge of all lefty progressives with a national profile, just went, ramped up after they got pushed underground. Just case in point, freaking guy, Walter E. Smith, but no, that's the furniture guy. J. Edgar Hoover, no, that's the cross-dressing FBI guy. The guy, Murrow, Edward R. Murrow, that's it. Everybody's like, George Clooney's like, oh, hey, Edward R. Murrow and everything like that. Yeah, sure. Here's the guy who helped in a way bring down McCarthyism, the public version of it, and HUAC exposed it for what it was, certainly, and played a big, huge role in ending the career of McCarthy. But it just pushed everything underground. Case in point, Edward R. Murrow, within weeks of having done that, got fired from his own show. Or lost his sponsor, which was Alcoa, which is a gigantic defense contractor. So Alcoa is sponsoring the show when they pulled out back in those days. TV was a little different. They had like major league sponsors for certain shows, or most shows that would underwrite most of the content and production costs for these shows. And he lost Alcoa, and that was the end of Edward R. Murrow. I mean, which just showed you how the thing just morphed. And nobody talks about Edward R. Murrow losing his gig after he did that to McCarthy. Nobody. It's because they won't talk about that stuff and all the things that they're doing behind our backs. Frick is wrong with you, frickin' nobodies. I mean, this is stuff it's right out there in front of our faces. I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. What are you up to? You got something else that's more important to do than trying to save the human race, or at least pay attention to it. And I will mention that the Iraq War, even though we killed 1 million, we were responsible for a war that never should have happened, never had any justification whatsoever. I mean, you talk about the Vietnam War, you get the Gulf of Tonkin and everything like that, and it never even happened. Gulf of Tonkin incident where supposedly a ship got sunk or shot at or whatever off the coast of Vietnam did not happen. And that was the main justification for the escalation of the war in Vietnam, which was a war who knows what. I mean, personally, I believe that, we have to fight. We're forced to fight a major league war every 25 years to retool the military because they can get by. They can, sort of sneak by on a measly $1 trillion annual budget. But, when it comes to, like upgrading their weapons delivery vectors or their, sort of baseline of weaponry, they have to throw a giant war so they can boost their budget. I mean, just like Trump is trying to do with the escalating from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion, so that they can create more drones, more rockets, and more, I think AI cybernetic robot warriors and stuff like that, so they can do ground invasions without troops, without human troops, in the Vietnam War, the case of the Vietnam War, they changed weapons platforms from, tank-based battalions to helicopter-based, air mobile units and stuff like that. And then in the Iraq War is when they did the switch over from tanks because of the end of the Cold War, switched it over to counterinsurgency weaponry and the initial spate of drones and whatnot and all that kind of good stuff. Every 20, 25 years or so, they got a major league war. And it has nothing to do with any part of reality. It's just, they don't care. They don't care about the loss of life. They don't care. For them, it's just like, child's play. It's, they don't care how many people die. And all these different, things that are going on in the world, it's just proxies to provide some sort of justification for doing these ridiculous wars that have no meaning. Oh, yeah, another aspect of the Iraq War was the privatization of Army and military support services that was given a no-bid contract to Halliburton. Halliburton, a proof of the inside job is pretty freaking simple. All you got to do is follow Dick Cheney, who was, earned his stripes working for Richard Nixon, so you already know that the guy is despicable and inhuman. And then he, goes to work for Bush Sr., and then they cut him loose in 1995, and he goes out and gets a job at the head of Halliburton, and he makes active targeted purchases to which resulted in Halliburton being the only company that could get a no-bid contract to do, for the first time in history, to do a privatized support system for a lot of the tasks the military used to perform for themselves. Transportation of fuel, food, and all kinds of different logistical support things that were now being done for the first time by an outsourced third party, instead of having it being internal to the military. And they got billions of dollars for it. So now, because now, I mean, that was an essential type of thing to do because war itself has changed from being profiteering off the people who were conquered to profiteering off the people who were, the victorious army was fighting for. In other words, the taxpayers of the United States were the ones where they got the booty from at the end of the Iraq War. It was from us. They stole the extra money that they used to appropriate to build all these new weapon systems, stole it from us, our taxes, or, our debt that we have to pay off to the same people that, are getting the tax cuts, the same people who are getting the profits off of the building of the military hardware, the same monsters, I should say, not people, that are, that we owe, trillions in debt for, in order to be able to, pay off this kind of stuff, that has, no end in sight. It's a goddamn shame. So here we are with the 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War, and we know that there's already tons of reasons that should be well established in everybody's mind. Reasons that were grounds for treason, maybe murder, certainly accessory to murder after the fact, should have been gone to The Hague, but were not signatories of the International Criminal Court and never have been. We told the International Criminal Court that we would not sign on to it unless they precluded people from the United States from ever being charged for war crimes. That was our stipulation. That was the reason why we didn't sign up with the International Criminal Court. And they said, no, we're not going to. Why should you get exempted from that? All we do is try people for crimes against humanity. And you're saying that we can't try you for crimes against humanity? What's the point? So they didn't give in. The United States never signed. So now they get the International Criminal Court of the largest country, most active military country in the world, not even part of it. It's a joke. The whole goddamn thing is a joke. Everything we do is a joke. It's just a sadistic thing. And I always thought also that everybody thinks it's blood for oil in Iraq. No, it's not blood for oil in Iraq. We already had all the contracts for their oil wells and stuff like that firmly in place. The time it said, maybe we got a little bit of a better deal, but it's not measurable, significant enough to be able to go to war over it. No, I think that the war in Iraq was simply to justify an increased military budget so that they could come up with these new weaponry delivery platforms in the post-Cold War era. And that, vast armadas of tanks and stuff like that were no longer necessary. But what they needed was, counterinsurgency stuff that they ultimately wanted to bring back to the United States and distributing to police stations and all kinds of, SWAT teams and stuff like that all over the country. And the fact is that, a lot of these people were probably turning the Iraq War. The counterinsurgency was the point of the thing. They didn't lose the peace. The counterinsurgency was what they were wanting to get out of the war. They didn't go in to invade and take over the country or whatever. They went in to create instability so they could spend 10 years duking it out, testing their new weapon systems, and basically doing all kinds of different sort of, I'm stepping all over my material for this whole list. All right, enough of that. Enough of this extemporaneous riffing. It's time to get down and dirty with the top 10 worst lists for the reasons for the Iraq War. Number 10. Various Iraqis killed JFK to build a vast series of cell phone towers for AT&T. Now, that, a lot of people are kind of thinking that's the cover-up. It's the cover-up, D2T cover-ups, as it were, if you want to go into your whole Godfather type of a thing. Yes, various Iraqis probably were at the grassy knoll and provided the, what they call it, triangulation of fire that, clearly I'm surprised that, they didn't have Colin Powell announce that when he went to the goddamn, with the goddamn stuff. All right, number 9. They've been talking trash behind our back. The Iraqis have been talking trash behind our backs and telling jokes about our mamas. What were we supposed to do? Just sit around and let them tell your mama jokes? On our watch, Donald Rumsfeld. There are known unknowns, but there are no unknown. How's that go? What the hell? You can tell that to, maybe if we told that one, some of the Rumsfeldian quotes to the AI cybernetic robots that it caused their robot brains to, that does not compute, and start, sort of spinning around and flying off their neck, head mounts, neck mounts, whatever. Hang on a second. Donald Rumsfeld quotes. Now this is going to be worth the wait here. I guarantee it. This guy was something else. What a piece of work. 25 quotes by Donald Rumsfeld. Here we go. Here it is. There are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know that there are unknown unknowns. That is to say, we know that there are some things that we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns, the ones we don't know, we don't know. Brilliant. This is the guy there's pictures of him shaking hands with Saddam Hussein to close a deal to sell him arms. At the same time that we were having the Israelis sell arms that we bought off the profits of selling drugs in the inner cities in the United States to the Iranians. So we're selling arms to the Iraqis and to the Iranians, utilizing Israel as the go-between when the Iran and Israel were publicly stating that they wanted to annihilate each other, and yet they're doing backroom deals, which is why I said before and continue to assert that Israel, Iran are all proxies for the American military-industrial complex. Because as Russia and Soviet Union fell apart, they needed more boogeymen. So they put Israel in the middle of this war zone and had an endless war. So they could just keep selling arms to all the countries in that region. And they could keep, they needed to, in order to be able to keep the military-industrial complex going and having a 24/7 military at World War II levels or beyond, they needed to find ways to make that plan of action work. And that's keeping those factories open year-round, every year, nonstop. Because if they shut down or if they had, a big, huge downturn in air travel or in automobile sales, that would affect the cost of everything that they buy for the military. They can never let that do. That's why the automobile industry and the airline industry are the first places to get bailed out every time there's an economic downturn. Because they can't have those industries go bankrupt or they won't have their military-industrial complex anymore. And that's why they don't build public transportation in this country. Donald Rumsfeld, we can't solve a problem, make it bigger. And this is the guy who lost, $2.3 trillion? They say that's one of the reasons behind 9/11, because the records of where that $2.3 trillion was stashed away somewhere in Building 7, and that's why they imploded Building number 7. They were all imploded. They were all controlled demolitions. Take a look at it. What are you, a dumbass? You can't even believe your eyes anymore? Stupid dumbass. You go to war with the army you have, not the army you might want or wish to have at a later time. The absence of evidence is not necessarily the evidence of absence. Donald Rumsfeld was freaking out of his freaking gourd. Rummy. I believe what I said yesterday. I don't know what I said, but I know what I think, and I assume it's what I said. The price of being close to the president is delivering bad news. You fail him if you don't tell him the truth. Others won't do it. Not as fun. I should have done this. If you're not criticized, you may not be doing much. The worst mistake is to have the best ladder in the wrong wall. Interesting. You might be a cunning linguist, but I'm a master debater. That was a Donald Rumsfeld quote? Dude, gross. What's the difference between a circus? Wait, how's it go? A circus and a whorehouse. A circus features a cunning array of stunts. Did I get that right? You gotta be careful with that joke. You can't say that when you're like mixed company and had too much to snort. If you're working from your inbox, you're working on other people's priorities. Wow. Harsh. Donald Rumsfeld on the muscle. It's easier to get into something than to get out of it. Learn to say I don't know when appropriate will be often. Don't necessarily avoid sharp edges occasionally. They are necessary for leadership. Listen to both sides. It does not necessarily bring a correct judgment. Think ahead. This is starting to get real boring. The higher a monkey climbs, the more you see of his behind. That's pretty good. Rummy. The purpose of terrorism is to terrorize. It's to change the behavior of the people that are being terrorized. I mean, these are the guys who were put in charge of our government, lied their asses off, and then Obama let them all go. I'm sorry, but I mean, how do you not investigate 1 million innocent people dying for a war that was built on lies? Unless you're in on it. It's all just part of the scripting. Justified, Obama being assented to he did the 2% tax cut, which wound up putting billions into the coffers of the big, huge corporations because it was a tax reduction, temporary tax holiday for 2 years of the Social Security tax. And the Social Security tax, when you're reducing that, it reduces the amount of matching amounts that all the companies are obligated to pay in. Because it's not just us paying into Social Security on our behalf, it's the companies that we work for have to match the amount that they take out of our checks. And so, giving us a 2% holiday winds up with us getting about, 35 cents at the end of the day added on to our net pay. But these giant corporations, when you add up all that stuff for the thousands of employees that they've got, it's billions of dollars. And it wound up decreasing the amount, and this is my own calculation, but I think I was pretty close and fastidious when I did it, 11 years off of the shelf life of the viability of the Social Security Trust Fund. 11 goddamn years. And it's scheduled right now to end in 2032. But if Obama hadn't done that 2-year tax holiday and all the interest that builds up since then, we would have another 11 years to worry about it. I mean, they're all in on it. Everybody's being lied to. Everybody's being abused. Everybody's being victimized. And everything that's out there, anything that you're hearing, anything that's being distributed enough for you to be aware of it is lies or social engineering or propaganda or trying to dumb us down and get us to fall in line and be a bunch of mindless obedient drones. Where was I? All right, number 8. Of the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War, they had mobile chemical labs disguised inside a series of Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles. Yes, they did. And you wouldn't know the difference if because they got like 4. I've seen pictures of 4 Wienermobiles in the same, like they have a Wienermobile drag race. Where they race the various, God, man, it's just so much garbage in this world. But anyway, so yeah, that's whatever, so on and so forth. Number 7 of the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. The Iraqis were planning on secretly putting steroids in innocent American Olympic athletes using suppositories. Suppositories! Let me tell you something. Think about the Olympics in a different way. I want you to just take a short little excursion with me about the Olympics. Now, the United States has something along the lines of like 600 athletes or something that goes over to the Summer Olympics every 4 years. These pigs, these gigantic pig dogs in the Olympics and FIFA and all these guys, international criminals. Talk about international criminal court. All those guys are doing excellent yeoman's work at destroying every country that they go to and making them pay for, $1 billion stadiums and stuff that they can't afford. That's great, But here's, the point that I was trying to make is that 600 American athletes or so, something along those lines, go to the Summer Olympics. There are countries that can only afford to send one person. So you've got, big dog on the block. The big dog's got to eat. Woof, 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 woof. Big dog. 600 athletes to one. Are you really? Really, where's the pride in that you can be? We need to change this world the way it operates. It's false pride. It's and plus we've got the college USDA or whatever, USC, US, what is that thing? NCAA, that develops all these athletes and puts on all these competitions on an ongoing basis. That's just a farm system for the Olympics, churning them out and everything like that, so that you have those 600 people that are world-class athletes. And then there's these other smaller countries that have one athlete going up against 600 well-trained, hyper-trained American athletes. Where's the competition in that? It's so unfair. That's part of the same mentality. It's just because, the United States had better weaponry and Gatling guns that could mow down Native Americans and take their land, that it's justified. It's the same type of mentality. Oh, well, we can afford to groom and develop and train 600 athletes so we can send them all. No. If there are countries in the world that can only afford to send one person, then everybody should only be able to send one person. That's a fair Olympics right there. Now, still, even with that, you got, 350 million people who are able to, choose from to get that one guy. So you're able to get, somebody probably pretty damn good out of that 350 million people. As opposed to like some of these smaller countries that got 5 people, something like living in the country or whatever. So they don't have, and they still have a competitive disadvantage, but it wouldn't be 600 to 1, which is crazy. Why would anybody take any pride in pummeling countries that have, one for every 6 athletes that we send, even just sort of on average or whatever? It's nothing. It's sick. It's a sickness. And it's all based on commercial sales of ad space on American television. So people watching these events are sitting on their asses, the couch potatoes, with the groove, for their butts being religiously indented into their couch cushions. So the more they watch these athletes being fit and living their lives and everything like that, they're vicariously sitting around going, "Oh, that's really good. Look at that figure skating guy. The figure skating guy's really good. Why? How come roller derby isn't a sport in the freaking Olympics, right? Am I right? Roller derby, or at least roller skating, should be a goddamn they'll let ice skating do. But where's the roller skating? Must be because one of the other countries that only has one athlete has got is like the world's number one roller skater producer in the world. There's got to be something to it. Roller skating's pretty awesome. Here we go, I'm roller skating and stuff like that. You can play the stupid ass music and stuff and make tons of money for those robber barons in the music publishing industry. Number 6. They stepped out of the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. They stepped on George Bush Sr.'s heroin exports from Afghanistan. Exports, not experts. Probably both. George Bush Sr.'s heroin exports. George Bush Sr., that guy, he's a total failure as a human being, right? Wow. And his papa, Prescott Bush, laundered money for Hitler at Union Bank. when he was one of the lead executives at that branch that they shut down in 1942 after we already mutually declared war against Germany. And he's sitting there laundering money for Hitler. Hitler's banker, George H.W. Bush's father, Prescott Bush, grandfather of W, great-grandfather to the host of the Today Show, was Hitler's banker. Hitler's banker. Yeah, you suck. Is it really? I mean, are you finally getting a sense of how much you suck? That's the purpose of today's episode. Not how much they suck. They suck because they're sociopaths. What's your excuse? Why did you let all this happen? Where was the goddamn protests and goddamn, like encampments on various different college campuses all throughout the country when the villain wasn't a Jew? Nowhere to be found. Nobody gave a rat's ass when Paul Wellstone's plane went down 2 weeks before his election, and Mel Carnahan's plane went down 2 weeks before his election, and those two seats eventually flipped to the GOP, which gave them the voting edge to be able to validate the Iraq War. Where were you? Where were you? You don't even know who they are. You don't know how much this country lost when they were murdered. You have no idea who they are or what happened subsequent to their murder, the total destruction of all remaining liberals in this country. Take a look at what they did to Al Franken, the person that, supposedly he, got busted for and lost his career in the Senate for some photo that was already stale by the time they brought it up. That actress, who was, I can't remember what her name was, but she was the co-star of the TV series Monk. And they were on some kind of charity tour or something like that, and she's asleep, and he's like mocking that he's grabbing her jugs or whatever, and it was just done out of a joke. She didn't even know that it happened. He wasn't actually touching her. And she came out in public and said, "This guy's a great guy. I don't hold anything against him. Me Too has got, effectiveness, but this guy is not the guy that you should be going after." And they went after him anyway. And Kirsten Gillibrand, Hillary Clinton's lapdog, went out and forced Al Franken to resign. And Al Franken would have been the perfect guy to run against Trump. Perfect. So when you're out there complaining that MAGA is the sole reason for us to have wound up with this maniacal sociopath in the form of Trump, take a look in the goddamn mirror. You let them kick the only guy who probably would have had a chance. Would have wiped the floor with Trump if they had free and fair elections in this country, but they don't. They don't. We don't. Number 5 of the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. The NRA told the government to do it. It's not the NRA. NSC. The NSC told the government. The NSC is the government. It's just like, hey, whatever. We have these, sort of everything on the surface and everything like that. But George Bush Jr., when you saw him in public, there's no way that this guy had the cranial capacity to be able to organize all of the obfuscations and lead up to the war and all the lies and everything like that. And, he made a great photo op, parachuting into onto a aircraft carrier that had a banner that said "Mission Accomplished" on it, 2 hours before the whole sectarian violence busted out, and the real Iraq War that they wanted all the time, the counterinsurgency war that they dragged out forever so they could, provide justification for retooling the American military and provide an opportunity to be able to do like a weapons show in real life to show the impact of all of that and all that kind of good stuff, was the intention of the Iraq War to begin with. It wasn't blood for oil. It was just to have, to have a killing spree and show off their new toys, so that all the petty little political despots all throughout the world be like, "Ooh, That's a nice armored personnel carrier. Sign me up for 10 of those. I mean, it's so much easier to have like a live action demonstration for people so they can see the real killing power. The videos that they won't show us, they'll show to the despots and everything like that. It's so much better than, having them meet up with the Catalina wine mixer. Right? Number 4 of the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. Because the military needed a smokescreen to retool the fighting forces after the Cold War to contend with counterinsurgency threats instead of having giant tank armadas. I'm sorry, I stepped on my material. I mentioned that I did as I was doing it, and I feel really bad about it. Because it's sort of, I don't know, it's not, it's deflating to have had that, taken all the steam out of my own punchy material. Because this is good stuff. God damn, I'm in so much freaking pain all the time. Number 3 of the top 10 worst ofs. Iraq is the number 1 global producer of cheese doodles. And Big Doodle wanted to go in there and wet its beak. Big Doodle. Cheese doodles. Dude, cheese doodles. Ew. Number 2, the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. Hollywood was desperate to get a theme for its next upcoming Rambo movie sequel, Rambo 4, the ultimate cash grab. See, now, actually, I think it's Rambo 5 now, right? Didn't they have another Rambo? I know they're doing a prequel to Rambo because they haven't shown enough brown people getting killed in movies lately. They're desperate. It's time to depict Hollywood to step up and do their job. They must wag the dog and show more brown people getting murdered, show them as despicable, dehumanized cretins and useless, disposable, like in the movie 300. Or that's that movie thing with, Black Hawk Down. Yes, Hollywood is not liberal. There isn't a liberal stitch in Hollywood body. It's all propaganda. They're all on the same page to Dr. Edison. I don't know, man. It's just like, damn. All right, here we go. We made it to the top. The number 1 top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War. It wasn't really a war. It was an elaborate 10-year-long arms dealer show with real-life demonstrations. Oh, damn. I already said that like 5 times in the course of this episode. 5 freaking times. Ding dong dong, da 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 dong dong, da 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 dong, Suck. All right, I've got some extra credits. Systematically spreading a sudden infant death syndrome throughout the entire world. That was Iraq. They had needed to go into Iraq. They were systematically spreading sudden infant death syndrome. Goddamn SIDS. Iraq. Did you know that Iraq invented SIDS? And they also invented the tonsils. Iraq invented tonsils. Also, because Saddam and Bush Jr. were butt buddies and Saddam dumped him for Salman Rushdie. That's the real reason why Salman Rushdie lost one of his eyes. Say no more. Then I've got Bonnie Prince Charlie. For some reason, I don't know what I said. It was. Do you have Prince Albert in the can? Is your refrigerator running? And the top extra credit one. For some reason, I wrote down Little Lord Fauntleroy. I don't even remember who Little Lord Fauntleroy was. You ever see that movie, Magnificent Ambersons? It's a pretty good movie. First 10 minutes is especially evocative. But the top 10 extra credit reason I wrote down for the top 10 worst reasons for the Iraq War, because you suck and are an idiot. All right. Loving it. It's true. You are. Yeah. Go ahead and protest that, you rotten bastards. Self-serving, anti-Semite, Jew-hating nobodies. Why are you so dumb? Is it something about simplicity that you find attractive? That you have to do everything, dumb everything down so that you can sort of like gloss over it and, barely be alive? Is that what it is? You just enjoy just barely being alive and having everybody be victimized in order for you to have that culture of comfort where you can just find that, create a cocoon for yourself and get all the perfect comfort foods and get your 4 hour worth of pre-tape TiVo bull dink, unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Anyway, that's all the time. That's all I got for you this time out the box. I think it's been a really, certainly an enlightenment for me. I didn't know half of this stuff before today's episode. Now, I want to be very emphatically clear that everything I've said here is just opinions, okay? Now, if there's things that I've said that you don't feel are appropriate or accurate or you think are demeaning to you or Americans in general or America as an ideal or America as a, out of control, belligerent power that's seeking to become an actively, openly Aryan master race state. I'll say just a couple things. Number one, up yours, buddy. I'll say what I want until they come knocking at my door to grab me and take me out to the death camps. Hello, Mr. Sir, here to take you to do a house-to-house search and take you to the death camps. Oh, nuts. See, look what happened. Number two, get your own goddamn freaking phone out and run down your own list about the top 10 worst things about me. Number three of the two things I want you to keep in mind. I insist you do your own freaking fact-checking. What do you would expect everybody to do all the heavy lifting for you? You won't believe anybody anyway until you see it, and you probably won't even believe it after you see it, but it's out there. It's for another 5 to 10 minutes. It's still stuff that everything that I've read, well, not everything that I've read or seen, but a lot of the things that I've read or seen that have led me to assert these things as factual are still available for you to freaking check out for yourself. Don't wait for anybody else to tell you. Everybody you see that's distributed to you that you're aware of is lying to you, you stubborn, pathetic, mouth-breathing brainstem. Get it through your goddamn thick skull. They are lying to you to hurt you and exploit you and create havoc throughout the whole world in an effort to destroy humanity. They're playing God. It's way beyond just simple greed. Anyway, that's all I got for you. It's been a pleasure. It has been to be here once again. Go ahead and, I don't know, man. Nobody's being able to see this anymore. They've got me on lockdown. I've been on lockdown for 30 years, so I don't think anybody's going to see this or anything. But do you think, I'm joking around and, making fun of your country and everything that you love and whoever, has, opposing viewpoints to me? That's great. Go ahead and do your thing, man. But I'll tell you right now, I've beaten myself to a bloody pulp for 30 years trying to get people to think for themselves and try to detach from being plugged in for their whole lives from soup to nuts into this malevolent, vigorous, all-encompassing indoctrination. And just think for yourself for once. I have nothing to gain from doing this. This is a labor of love. I don't do it out of hatred. I do it out of seeing something that has created all the things that I've loved in my life, in trouble. And, if you, have a brother, you love a brother and you see them in trouble, you don't just cut them loose. You try your very best to help them. Somebody that you love in trouble, you take care of them, you nurture them, you try your very best to alleviate the pain, take on some of the burden yourself so that they can, breathe a little easier or whatever, or survive insurmountable odds. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And I got no other interest in it other than just trying to do the right thing and trying to make the world a better place for having been here and stuff like that. And if you can say, think, or do whatever you think in terms of like, not being able to agree with some of the things I said, fine. I'm not saying that my opinion is the best opinion or that my opinion is the only opinion or everything. I'm challenging you to find out for yourself. I'm trying to inspire you to do something before it's too late. God damn it. Yeah. All right, so that's it. I've had it. You had enough of me, probably. Anyways, so real pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being you. Thanks for, really, and I look forward to next time being able to, live long enough to be able to deliver more and more episodes of top 10 worst stuffs that nobody's allowed to watch because of the gatekeepers. Anyway, click that freaking like button, you goddamn lazy sons of so-and-sos. Subscribe, whatever. I don't know what the stuff is. Don't forget to donate to my Patreon. Which I don't have, by the way. All right, so anyway, let's, let's cool out. Learn to love each other, man. Golden rule, God doing to others as you're doing to you. And let's try to get through this mess together, okay? What do you say?